I didn't spend 20 years in the Senate. I spent 20 years in the House of Representatives. I left. Okay, you said National Assembly. Okay, I thought you said Senate. Okay, thank you. Well, as alluded to by the Master of Ceremony, I'm representing the President of the Senate, who is unavoidably absent for exigencies of office, and he has a prepared speech for me to read. But before I read the speech of the Senate President, to which I am supposed to strictly adhere to, as a lawmaker and a lawyer, I want to state that what we are doing today is apt and germane, especially against the backdrop of the agitations from all nooks and crannies of society for reform of our Electoral Act to make it autochthonous, a replica of the yearnings and aspirations of the citizenry, and also to bring it in tandem with international best practices. That is the main reasoning behind our gathering today. And the National Assembly, as a representative of the people, we will always listen to the people and ensure that whatever laws we come up with at the end of the day is a reflection of the yearnings and aspirations of the people, and that is why there is a need for public hearing to hear the people before we embark upon this legislative process, and that is what brought us here today. Now for the goodwill message of the Senate President. The goodwill message is titled, "The Courage to Reform, Renewing the Soul of Our Democracy." Goodwill message by the President of the Senate, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Godswill Obot Akpabio, GCON, at the one-day public hearing on electoral reform, organized by the Joint Committee on Electoral Matters in collaboration with the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, FLAC, Conference Room 231, National Assembly Complex, Abuja, Monday, 13th October 2025. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, ably represented by my colleague, the Leader of the House, Professor Julius Ewabere, the Chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters, who was a former Speaker, Plateau State House of Assembly, former Governor of Plateau State, former Minister of Labor and Productivity. I hope I will follow your footsteps. And now, Senator representing Plateau and the Chairman Committee on Electoral Matters, and my brother, the Chairman Senate Committee, House Committee on Electoral Matters, and distinguished senators here present, more particularly former leader of the Senate and former Federal Permanent Secretary, a very distinguished and well-experienced and vast legislator. You are welcome. And members of the House of Representatives, I will single out the Chairman of Committee on Judiciary, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for recognition. You know, we lawyers, we give a lot of prominence to senior advocates. Whenever senior advocates are around, we bow and tremble for them. So I most particularly recognize your presence among the senators here present, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Then our colleagues in the House of Representatives, the coordinator of FLAC, international partners, the representative of the INEC, acting INEC chairman, and other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to stand before this distinguished gathering at a moment of uncommon significance in our democratic journey. Today, we are not merely discussing a law. We are shaping the moral compass of our republic. I wish to commend in the highest terms the Joint Committee on Electoral Matters of the 10th National Assembly and our partners from the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center PLAG for their foresight and patriotism in convening this public hearing. You have summoned this assembly at a time when our nation must again reaffirm her faith in the sanctity of the ballot and the inviolability of the people's will. Your work speaks not only to the intellect, but to the conscience of Nigeria. The task before us, the repeal of the Electoral Act number 13 of 2022 and the enactment of the Electoral Act 2025 is not a matter of mere legislative housekeeping. It is an act of renewal, an affirmation that our democracy must continue to evolve with the times. An affirmation that our democracy must continue to evolve with the times. Every generation of Nigerians must, in its turn, polish the mirror of democracy so that it reflects the truth of its age and the hope of its people. That is why Udo Udoma, of blessed memory, a Supreme Court justice, in one of his judgment, very cerebral judgment, stated that laws are supposed to be organic. They are not supposed to be static. They are supposed to change with the changing nature of society. And that is what exactly the Senate President is saying in his speech. Every generation of Nigerians must, in its turn, polish the mirror of democracy so that it reflects the truth of its age and the hope of its people. Laws like nations must adopt or they decay. The Electoral Act of 2022 served a noble purpose, but experience has taught us that perfection is a pursuit, not a possession. The law we make today must correct the weakness of yesterday and prepare the ground for the victories of tomorrow. Electoral reform is not just a technical exercise. It is the lifeblood of democracy. It ensures that leadership is born of legitimacy and that power flows from the people, not from privilege. A nation's greatness is not measured by the noise of its elections, but by the credibility of their outcome. When citizens believe that their votes count, they invest faith in the republic. When they doubt it, the soul of democracy begins to fade. Our duty as legislators is therefore to build a system where every Nigerian, from Sokoto to Calabar, from Yenagoa to Kano, and from Maiduguri to Port Harcourt. They didn't write Maiduguri here, but I decided to mention Maiduguri. From Maiduguri to Port Harcourt. Knows that his or her vote is sacred and the process is shielded from manipulation. The legislature occupies a sacred place in this endeavor. We are the custodians of the people's trust, the bridge between their hopes and the laws that govern their lives. The National Assembly must remain the fortress of reason, the marketplace of ideas, and the temple of accountability. It is here, within these walls, that the raw timber of public opinion is shaped into the fine furniture of law. Through hearings like this, we give democracy its most vital expression. The right of citizens to speak, to be heard, and to influence the course of their nation. I urge all participants in this public hearing to Engage with courage and candor. Speak with your minds freely, for nations do not grow by silence, but by sincere dialogue. Let our debates be frank, our disagreements noble, and our resolutions firm. We are not here to flatter one another, but to strengthen the very foundation of our democracy. The Nigeria we desire, a nation of justice, peace, and unity, will not emerge from comfort or consensus alone. It will emerge from the hard labor of truth, from the humility to learn, and from the courage to reform. At this juncture, it is my singular honor and privilege to declare this public hearing open. Thank you.